Download this code and get free GPT-4o from codegive.com, link in the description below. Certainly. Auto-generating documentation for Python projects can make it easier to maintain, share, and understand your code. mkdocs combined with mkdocstrings provides a powerful way to create beautiful, interactive documentation for your Python projects. Below is an informative tutorial on how to set up and use mkdocs with mkdocstrings. Overview. mkdocs, a static site generator that allows you to create documentation using Markdown. mkdocstrings, a plugin for mkdocs that automatically generates API documentation from your docstrings. Prerequisites. Python installed on your system. A basic understanding of Python and Markdown. Familiarity with command line interfaces. Step 1. Install mkdocs and mkdocstrings. First, you need to install mkdocs and mkdocstrings. You can install them using pip. Step 2. Create a new mkdocs project. Use the following command to create a new mkdocs project. This will create a new directory called my_project with a basic structure for your documentation. Step 3. Configure mkdocs. Open the mkdocs.yml file in your project directory. This file is the configuration file for your mkdocs project. Here's a basic example of how to configure it to use mkdocstrings. Step 4. Add Python code with docstrings. Create a Python module for demonstration. For example, create a file named my_module.py in the root directory of your project. Step 5. Create the API documentation page. Next, create the API documentation page. Create a directory called API and then create a file named my_module.md inside it. This directive : my_module tells mkdocstrings to automatically generate the documentation for the my_module.py file using its contents. Step 6. Update the index page. You might want to add a link to your API documentation in the index.md file. Open index.md and add the following. Step 7. Build and serve the documentation. Now that everything is set up, you can build and serve the documentation locally. Use the following command. This command will start a local server, and you can view your documentation by navigating to http://127.0.0.1:8000/ in your web browser. Step 8. Build for production. When you are ready to build your documentation for production, run. This command will generate a site directory containing the static files for your documentation. Conclusion. You have successfully set up a basic mkdocs project with mkdocstrings to auto-generate documentation from your Python code. This setup allows you to maintain your documentation easily as you develop your code, ensuring that your API documentation is always up to date. Further customization. You can customize your mkdocs project further by exploring different themes, adding more pages, and configuring more options in mkdocs.yml. The official documentation for both mkdocs and mkdocstrings provides a wealth of information for deeper customization. mkdocs documentation, https://www.mkdocs.org. mkdocstrings documentation, https://mkdocstrings.readthedocs.io. Feel free to ask if you have any questions or need further assistance.